Hi everyone, this is Juan Carlos Navarro for atutsplus.com, and today we'll be creating a neon light flickering effect, like the one you will see right now. Okay, pretty cool, right? So, let's begin. Okay guys, here we are in After Effects, and I've loaded up everything we will be needing through the whole tutorial. It's our logo, which I vectorized before in Illustrator to get some nice round edges here, and some textures for the walls, okay, and our reference logo here. Okay, so let's start by creating a new composition, and let's call it Neon Light Final. Okay, 1280 by 720, 29.97, and 10 seconds long here is okay. Okay, so our actual light will be made out of 4 pieces: the tube, the color, the base color, the glow, and the shadow. So let's start by creating our tube. Okay, so let's pre-compose this layer by hitting Command or Control Shift and C, and let's name this neon tube. Okay, move all attributes and open composition. Okay, now I want to add to this logo sort of connections here. Okay, so to do that I will create a new solid and call it tube connections. Make it come size and choose this color. Okay, I will turn it off for a second. I will grab my rounded rectangle tool, and I will add some, kind of connections here. Okay, move it down and turn on the layer. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, now I'm gonna duplicate this mask and move it up here. Okay, now duplicate again, move it down here again, and here once more to get it about here, and the last one here. Okay, that's cool. Now everything's connected. Okay, now I'm gonna duplicate the neon tube. I'm going to name it neon color, and I'm going in to delete these connections. Okay, great. Now to do the tube, I will add an effect called CC Vector Blur. Now I will change the type from natural to constant length. I will increase the amount to about 71%, the reach smoothness to 7 or so. Yeah, let's type in 7, and I will decrease the map softness to 5, maybe 6. Yeah, right here. Okay, these numbers will depend, of course, on the thickness of your layer. Okay, or if it's thinner than mine, well, these values will also change. Okay, now this is a nice looking tube, and I'm gonna add the neon color right here, and I'm gonna add a ramp effect to fill it. And just for reference, I will drop here this logo and get the colors from it here and here. Now delete it and play with the ramp. Maybe at this point here, and I will put this point here. Okay, and I will turn this purple into a more, into a brighter purple. That's cool. Okay, now that I have made this, I will duplicate this layer. I will rename them. So neon color base, and then neon color glow. And let's add a glow effect. Yeah, to our top layer here, and let's change some of these values. So the threshold, I will decrease it to 35, the radius to 28, and the intensity to 1.3. Okay, now I'm going to change the blending mode to add, and for the base to overlay. Okay, now this is not looking right now as a, pretty cool looking neon, but I will do that by duplicating the effect. Okay, now it looks better. Okay, now we are using the threshold and radius to animate the flicker. Okay, now I want you to notice something. If we put the threshold down to 0, the layer will go bright. Okay, and if we put the radius up to 100, the layer will go bright. Okay, so these values work like in an opposite way. So the threshold, the most the threshold is, okay, the lower the radius should go, okay, to get the right effect. Now we will put these values to 50, 50, and 3 just for the moment, because we will animate these values with some controls, okay, to make it easier. So let's add a new layer, a new adjustment layer, and rename it controls. And we will add here some controls, some slider controls, okay, here. And let's duplicate it twice, 1, 2. And let's add another control called checkbox control. Okay. Now let's rename these controls. So this one controls the glow the glow threshold. Okay. The second controls the glow radius. The third one controls the light intensity. We will see that in a moment. And the fourth one controls, this fourth one turns on and off our light. Okay. Now let's add some expressions to these controls. Okay. Let's Alt or Option click this slider and type wiggle, open parentheses, 3, comma, and let's pick whip this value here and close parentheses. Okay. Now, as you can see, this value isn't moving because we have 0 here. So if we put 50, okay, now you can see these numbers are moving. So we want the radius to be this exact same number. Okay. So let's Alt or Option click this slider and pick whip here. Now remember that, well, first of all, we're getting some negative values, okay, just like here, and as you can see, this glow, the threshold, won't go below 0%, okay, so we need to get rid of these negative values. So to do that, there are, a lot of ways, but I think the simplest way to do it is to type in here 40, and that's it. That solves the problem. Okay. So now remember, we have to have opposite values here. So if we have 14 here, we should have something around 86 or 85 here. So to do that, it's very simple. Just type 100 minus and then the effect. So see, 85. Okay, now let's connect our glow values to these controls. Okay, so let's open up the effects. Let's go to the second glow and let's Alt or Option click the threshold and pick whip to here, to this slider. Now Option or Alt click the radius and pick whip to the second slider here. Okay, and now let's see what we have. Cool, right? Looks good. Okay, now we have to add an expression for our last control, okay, the one which turns on and off our layer. Okay, this layer will be turned on and off. Okay, so to do that, we will have to add a little expression to this layer's opacity. So hit T to reveal the opacity, then Alt or Option click, and let's type here. Let's make a little bit more room here. Okay, and delete this, and let's first pick whip this to this value, and let's add some variables and conditions. Okay, so first of all, I want to rename all these text. So let's type anything like on off equals to all this text. So instead of typing this com.layer open parentheses, we'll just have to type OF. Okay, so let's type if open parentheses on off equals to 0, which means off, right? Or not checking the box, this box here. If O off equals 0, then the opacity will be 0. Okay. Else, if open parentheses OF equals to 1, which means on, or the box checked, then 100%. Okay, now let's hit enter, and there we are. It's turned off because here our control is turned off. So if we turn it on, cool. All right. Okay, now let's go to the animation. So let's say that we want our lights turned off at 0 seconds and then to be on at 3 seconds. So let's have a keyframe here, another keyframe here, and yeah, we want this on. Okay, now I'm gonna animate this by just clicking on and off. Okay, so on, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames later, off, and on here and off. You can do anything you want. On here and off, and as we get close to the 3 seconds, we can increase the amount of time of the light being on, because that would be the way a light turns on in real life. Okay, off, on, off, on, off, and on. Okay, so let's preview this. Okay, there it is. Cool. Looks good, right? Perfect. Okay, now let's build the wall. First of all, we have to have these layers to be 3D. Okay, and let's have the wall. So wall 1, let's make it 3D and scale it down and push it back in Z space about 5 pixels, and let's color correct it. So let's play with some curves. Okay, a little bit more maybe, and add some brightness and contrast here. So decrease the brightness and also the contrast a little bit more maybe. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's grab these 3 layers and put them a little bit down. Okay, now let's add our second wall. Oh, actually here. Okay, and let's color correct it. We can copy these curves and this brightness and contrast, copy and paste it here, make it 3D layer, and actually you can see that this wall is sort of greenish or yeah, greenish. So let's tint it. Tint here, and let's decrease the tint to about 75. Okay, good, and scale down here. We're going to add a rectangle mask to this layer here, maybe. Now duplicate the wall, hit M, and move the mask down. I think we have two good pieces. Now let's move both pieces up here, and let's play with this piece first. Okay, I need the anchor point of this piece to be right here, so we can rotate it. So hit R and rotate it in X to 70. Okay, put it down, and let's actually create a new camera so we can see what we're doing. 20 millimeters, okay. Now I can rotate the camera by hitting C and just, rotate it. Okay, here. And let's grab this second wall and move it up. Up and forward. Okay, let's hit C again and check that everything's doing good. Yeah, looks good. Now let's hit P on the camera and reset the position. Okay. Perfect, now we have built the wall. Now we have 3 parts of the light and we are missing the shadow, so let's do it. Let's duplicate the neon color base and name it neon shadow steel, because this shadow won't be moving or animating. Put it below and duplicate it again and name it neon shadow animating. Okay, let's delete the ramp here and here, and let's fill the layer with a black color. Okay, here, just black. Okay, copy the effect and paste it here. Now let's add some effect called CC Radial Blur. This one. Okay, now let's solo the layer because this effect takes a little bit of time to render. Okay, let's change the type from scratch to straight zoom. Let's increase the quality to 100 and also the amount, right? Move up and let's put the center around here, and now we will get a sort of vertical shadow here. Okay, see? Let's go to third resolution just for the sake of saving RAM. And actually this amount, that's the thing that we will be animating. Okay, so our shadow can do this effect. Okay, so let's tie this amount to one of our controls. Okay, so let's go here, Alt click and pick whip to the radius slider. Okay, hit enter and see our shadow is animating. This may be too much because 77 is a high value, so let's divide this by 3 to get a softer shadow, and that's it. Now let's copy this effect, solve this layer, paste it, and let's change from scratch to straight zoom. Let's here hit E to open up the radial blur, double click the amount, and delete this expression because we don't want this shadow to be animating. And let's change the center point here, maybe around here. Okay. And now let's see the whole composition in action. Let's run preview this. Okay, there it is. Looking good, right? Now, of course, we have some issues here because our logo here is turned off, as you can see, and the shadow is moving. So we need to copy this expression in the opacity, copy it, and paste it here in the opacity. Oh, sorry, here. Okay, so Alt or Option click and paste the expression. Okay, now when the light is on, the shadow will animate. So here it's off, shadow, on again, there's the shadow, and so great, we're almost there. Now we are missing some light bouncing here and up here maybe, so let's go to it. Let's create a new solid, a pink solid, so let's name it pink light. Choose a nice pink, okay, shut it off for a second, and let's add another solid called purple light, and choose purple. Okay. Now let's move both layers here underneath underneath our walls. Let's make them 3D. Okay, so let's start playing with our purple light by adding a elliptical mask. So double click, and we can play with these points here. Okay, so let's tweak the points to get a nice shape here and here. Right, maybe double click it and scale it down, put it up here, and hit MM to feather the mask. Alright, and change the blending mode to add. Okay, that's looking good. Oops. Okay, now I'm gonna pause the video to add another pink light here and a purple one up here. Okay, I'm back. I just put this pink light here and this purple light here, so if we rotate the camera you can see it's up there, and now we have to animate the light. So let's hit T for the 3 layers. Okay, and let's tie the opacity to one of our controls. So we will tie the opacity to the radius also. So let's Alt or Option click and pick whip the radius here, and we can actually copy this expression, Alt click paste, and Alt click paste. Okay, now watch. Cool. See? Okay, but now we have the same problem that when the light's off, these lights are still visible. So we have to turn them off by adding a fill effect to 3 layers. So let's copy the effect, paste it, and let's switch back to the original colors here and here, and finally this one. And let's get the expression for the opacity of this layer. Copy and go to each light and paste it here. You have to paste it in this opacity, not the main opacity, but this opacity, the fill opacity. Okay, so Alt click paste, and for the pink light, Alt click paste. Now everything should work. Just cool. Okay, now let's finish the animation. Let's collapse these layers. And okay, now this turns on here. It stays for maybe from 3 to 7. Okay, and then I want to turn off at 7 seconds. So first we have to add a keyframe for the light intensity here. Go maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames and play with this slider until our layer goes all the way white here. Then 1 frame later I will turn off the layer. Okay, so it will go from this sort of brightness to this full bright. Okay, now let's add some particles. So to do that, let's hit Command Y or Control Y. Let's name this layer particles. Make it full black. Okay, make them size. Okay. And let's add CC particle world here. Okay. Now let's solo the layer. Just we can go to full res and let's tweak some of these values. So open up producer, physics, and particle. First, let's turn off the floor. Then change the longevity to 0.5. Change the type of animation from explosive to viscous or whatever you pronounce it. Then the velocity, let's go up to 3. The gravity, let's put here 2. The resistance, let's play with the resistance a little bit until we get something like this. And let's change the particle type to shaded sphere. Now these particles aren't looking like sparkles. Okay, so to make them look like sparkles, let's go up here to the options, rendering, and check force motion blur. Okay, and okay. Now still quite not what we want, but we will get there in a second. Decrease the bird size to around 0.07 and the size to 0.04 or 3, whatever. Now let's increase the max opacity to 100. Change the color to pink. Yeah, I like these colors. And the volume shade to 100. And the transfer mode also to add here and add here. Okay. Now let's go to third, unsolo the layer, and let's position it where we want. So by clicking, holding, and dragging, you can position the particles wherever you want. Here maybe, and let's decrease the radius. Okay, now to tell the particles where they will be start emitting, we will go around here. Okay, trim the layer and add keyframes to the birth rate. Okay, so keyframe hit U, so we don't want to be particles at this point, and then maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frames later I want to be 2, and then 1 frame later 0, so they can stop emitting. There it is. Let's make a quick RAM preview. Okay, there it is. Looks good. Pretty good. Now I'm gonna pause the video here to add some other particles here, so you just don't have to look through the whole process again, okay? Okay, we are back with the two particles. Now I think they are not like too vivid, so I will duplicate both layers by hitting Command and D, which is not working, I don't know why. Command D, there we go. And they're, they are looking much better. Now let's add some final touches here, so we can get like a little bit more of a dramatic effect. Let's add another solid cold light explosion. Make it concise and make it white. Okay, okay. Let's trim this here. And the explosion occurs there. So let's put it down here. Hit T for the opacity. Let's change it to 60. Add a keyframe, and 10 frames later, 0. Okay, and trim it here. Now let's change the blending mode from normal to add. Okay. Oh, here. Should be here. Okay. There it is. Nice. Okay. And then let's duplicate it and move it 1, 2, 3, 4 5s maybe. 4 frames. And change it to 30%. Okay. Cool. Okay. We're almost there. Let's add another solid called vignette. Make it dark, black. I will go black with this one. Hit OK. And draw a rough mask with the pen tool. Here, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? There it is. Hit MM. Subtract it. Maybe move it just here to frame our logo. Feather it out. And expand it. There. And change the blending mode to soft light. Okay, and decrease the opacity. Okay, looking nicer. There it is. And finally, let's add a layer, new adjustment layer, and call it color correction. And add here some curves, some general curves, and play with them. So let's play with a general RGB. There, maybe that's too much of a contrast. Okay, so I can decrease the opacity here. Okay, now let's go to the reds, and yeah, looks good. Okay, go to the greens and tweak the values here in the curve. Okay, then go to the blues and decrease them just right there. Good. Now we have a cooler look. Okay, that's nice. Okay, now one step I forgot was to darken this part of the wall a little bit. So it's this wall. Let's decrease the curve here. Okay, and also the brightness and the contrast. Okay, and there it is. Let's do a RAM preview. Okay, cool, right? Now, of course, it's just a matter of adding some sound effects and maybe some camera animation to get a complete look for this neon light. Okay, so that's the tutorial, guys. Please leave comments. I'm Juan Carlos Navarro, and see you next time. Bye.